Hello and welcome to the show. My guest today is Jordan Vesper. She has a full-time job and considers herself an entrepreneur with her side hustle. I know I've been talking a lot about entrepreneurships and side hustles lately, but I think it's important for us to think about, especially in this economy, the opportunities we have for earning extra income. It doesn't have to be a full-fledged side business that takes up a lot of your time that you may not have. But with incremental time commitments and focus, you can have success, just as Jordan shares. Thank you for being here, Jordan.
Hi.
We first met, it's been a few years. You were a sales rep for a digital company that I was considering doing their program. Interestingly enough, we stayed in touch during that time in our my decision making. You ended up leaving that company. I ended up not doing that project. And fortunately, we stayed in touch. So thanks for being here.
Yes, of course.
One of the things I want to clarify from the start is when I say you worked for a digital marketing company or a digital sales company, a lot of people don't know what that is. I've learned it myself over the last couple of years. I was confused in the beginning. So if you can just clarify what that means for our viewers, that'll be helpful for the rest of our conversation.
Yes. Okay. So I was also kind of curious about digital sales when I got into it. So basically, when we think of sales, that's typically us going to like a storefront and purchasing something physically that we end up taking home with us to use. The only difference between that and digital sales is like now you don't have to go to storefront. Now it's all done digitally. It's nothing that your hands physically touch, but you're able to still attain through email, through the internet, through course format. It could be digital recipe books, digital educational courses. I mean, there's so many things now that people are producing digitally because you create it one time and it resells over and over, and you don't have the actual physical, what's the word? Like
inventory.
Inventory materials that you have to use in order to create that product over and over again. So it's actually it's a brilliant format to go down and to use for your business.
And fairly new. I mean, I know that now it's a bigger deal, and definitely through COVID, a lot of people went that direction with their businesses. They had to figure out how to have a business online and to reach more people who weren't actually, I mean, a lot of trainers and yoga instructors, you can have a course about teaching headstands. You could teach a course in anything. And so when you were working for that company, you were really you had a good understanding of that world. You chose to leave that specific company, but you did you stayed into the digital format because you started helping people with podcasts and launched your own podcast. And I watched your Instagram grow very quickly. You're very good at what you do, and with reels and all the things in the storytelling. So what about the experience you had, obviously working for that company and just experiencing the digital world itself, helped you decide your next move at that time?
Yeah. I'm kind of like a yes woman to everything. Like I just start saying yes to all these things. And now looking back, I see all these different opportunities that I've taken have led me into that next yes that has like opened up a new door where I'm like, wow, this is so interesting. And that is what that previous job did for me. Once I saw that realm, I was like, okay, I know I love podcasting and I wanted to get into podcasting. Well, when I did that, I wanted to teach people how to do the same. And so that's kind of what even this digital marketing, digital sales world is. You learn a skill and then you go teach it. And so that's really what led me into all these different avenues. Now, I am someone who likes both sides. I actually really do enjoy corporate America. I actually like working for someone else that as long as I believe in their mission and believe in what they're selling and doing, I realized in myself that there is that niceness of not carrying all the pressure of owning your own business, beginning to be part of the reward. And so for me personally, it took me a little bit to get there. I would say like, I thought I was all entrepreneurial. I didn't want to work for anyone anymore. I wanted to own my own time completely 24/7. But then I realized there's pros and cons to that for sure. And so I got to really go down both roads. And so now, not only am I helping people, start digital products, start their own podcast, kind of learn more about digital marketing, I still work full time and I actually love my full-time job. And it's the perfect world for me because I get to have the security of that set income, but I also get to really dream bigger and have that kind of lane that's uncapped, that I can make a little extra $100 or $1,000 in some months, you know? So it's been a ride for sure, but it's been exciting and it's fun for sure.
When you think about the money side of it, so let's talk about entrepreneurship first, specifically. A lot of people, and I've heard you say this before, think entrepreneurship is one thing. Like you're just trying to quit your day job and go out in the world and change the world and put it on fire. And maybe entrepreneurship is that you own a store that people walk into and you sell them something. Maybe it isn't digital at all. Maybe it's the way that we've done things for a very long time. Maybe you have a storefront on one of the other digital formats that you share. But when you think about the things that you learned, what are the hard knocks things when you decided to leave that job that was commission, a lot commission, so it varied. But before you chose to have a full-time job and do your side hustles, what are some of those hard knock things you learned that made you think, whoa, maybe I jumped too soon, or maybe this is the best thing I ever did? What were your thoughts during that time making that big move?
Yeah, you know, well, I'll just be very transparent. For me to even be able to do that, so I actually bought my dream car, which was a white convertible, and it was one of the purchases where I felt like I made it. And that purchase was the reward of me being in a sales job that made very good money. For me to be able to leave that job and kind of take this massive leap of like, okay, I'm not working for anyone else, and I'm going to go I was actually starting a ministry at the time, which was our podcast. I ended up selling my car. I sold my white convertible dream car and lived off of that income to even get started. And I think this is a misconception with entrepreneurship, is like, most of the time you do need some money to start.
Yeah, you do.
It's not, I think there's this like misconception that you're going to get to start a business for free. And it is definitely not that way.
Especially in the digital world. I've built out a core. I'm so grateful that one of my skill sets is creating digital content, design, branding. Because if I had to pay somebody to do what I just did and I'm about to launch, I don't think I would have done it. I couldn't have afforded the risk that I'm taking, spending my time, which is money to me.
Yep.
Build something that, and part of how I learned that skill set is because I'd have an idea and then I'd have to pay somebody to create a logo or launch a website or whatever the case. And so fortunately, as time has gone on, we don't have to know HTML coding and all that stuff, because you can sign up for different website builders and some of them are complicated and you have to learn your way. But what I figured out is you just bring in your content to the framework, and then, it looks how you want it to look. It takes a while to learn how to do that. But there's different products and companies that help you build out your logos and all of your design work and all of those things. So when you think about even digital things, people think, oh, I'm going to go build a course. Oh yeah, I can record it. I can just do it on Zoom. Well, who's going to edit it? Who's going to brand it? And who's going to teach you the back end stuff? I finally hired out the back end stuff.
Yeah.
Because I was paralyzed by it.
Some people, like I always say, there's two types of people. The people that are going to do it themselves, they might be taking the long track. They might be taking longer. And that's why I always say some people will pay the money for someone to do it for them for it to get up quicker. So those are those pros and cons pieces that there is no right or wrong way. Sure. You could go on YouTube and try and figure it all out yourself. And if you're disciplined and you feel like you're a fast learner and you're okay with making some mistakes. And I mean, I'll be honest, I am kind of that person where I'll just figure it out. And like I said, full transparency, I did it on my own and figured it out. Well, my very first email that ever went out, instead of sending them to my sales page, I sent them the product for free. I had 60 emails get sent out that way. And now, is it okay? Yes. I learned from my mistake.
You'll never do that again.
I'll never do it again. And so I always say there's like and this is what I learned in that gap of me trying to figure it out on my own and figure out if I was really going to go all in on entrepreneurship. I finally had to realize I have to be okay with mistakes, and I have to be okay with this not happening overnight. And the happening overnight was really hard because you will see everyone around you and it looks like it's happening overnight for them. Mm-hmm. And it's really not.
That's true in so many careers. I mean, you can just take the most famous person whether an athlete, an actor, a politician, like
Everything.
anything that you see, it's taken a long time to get there.
Yep. And it's so easy to look around and think they did it without trying, without doing it.
Sure. I think that that's really true. I see that in a lot of the people that I work with in my life, and even in my life. The course that I'm launching is based on 27 years of being a patient or a caregiver or a loved one. And that is hard-earned education that I would like to help other people avoid learning as they go, right?
Yes.
That's what we're trying to do. Okay, let's take a break and we'll come back. We're going to talk about the next great thing that happened in your life. We are back talking with Jordan Vesper. So let's talk about the next thing that came into your life and timing. And I think sometimes just making the decision to take a leap, whether it's in relationships or it's in business or it's in whatever it is that we've been kind of thinking about but not sure about. So you recently got married.
Yes,
and you and your husband had been together for quite a long time, took a couple month hiatus, decided, is this really what we want? And then said, yes, it is. We're getting married. And it doesn't happen a lot these days. You waited to move in together. You waited to combine your finances. You waited to do all the things that now you're married and you go, okay, so this is what marriage is. And what do we do next? Right?
Yes. Yes. I'm like such a fairy tale type of girl. Like I like to heighten everything. Everything is
well, Instagram is perfect for you.
Oh, I know, right? So it's like best case scenario, but I'm also really passionate about sharing the realities of things.
Sure. That's good.
I think with marriage, I am a full component of marriage. I think marriage is like the best gift God has ever given us. I really do believe that. But it also exposes things a lot more whenever you're just by yourself. So for me, I had my own debt, I had my own finances, I had my own life, I had everything my own. Then you get married and it's like, oh, hi, here's my life, here's my debt, here's my spending habits, here's my weaknesses, here's my strengths, here's everything.
Here's my towel left on the floor.
I like to speak on my own lane. I won't speak on my husband's, but
that's his lane then. You gave it away.
That's not my lane. No, but it's just, it's one of those things where me and my husband, we're both like, look, we weren't someone who's like, we need the mansions, we need the cars, we need all the things, but like we really care more about the legacy that we leave behind because we're so blessed with parents who've done that for us. Mm-hmm. And so for us, we got married and it was kind of like, okay, babe, we need to do something. Like we need to start something because we make decent money. And I like saying decent because it's average, which most of us live in that space of just mundane average, which sounds bad. And I have to be careful with this because it's still such a blessing to be in the average because there's many people who aren't. Right. So I really went through this like challenge of like, do I go for more? Do I not? Am I okay? Am I not? So with marriage, it's been a really cool thing to step into and say, okay, maybe I want to get back into doing something on the side because I could start paying. My husband had zero debt when I married him. I'm like, come on. Making me look bad. I did not. I have loans. I have some credit card debt that I wanted to just full transparency, want to get rid of and just be free completely. And like even his car's paid off. I'm like, this man has zero debt to his name. And so it really was kind of a conviction thing for me where I'm like, I want to do something.
I want to be an equal.
And I want to put my effort in and like we both work full time, but I am the Instagram kind of sales background. Like there's like the world is available for me to tap into to say, okay, where could I go? What could I do that could even just bring in something where we're just pouring cash right into my debt.
Those places.
Yeah.
So when you decided, so you went back to work full time. So you do work full time now.
Yes.
And that's another thing that we talked about before starting the show today is that entrepreneurship can be that you have a full-time job and you are working in that job and that brings you a lot of security and knowing and all of those things. And then you can also do these side hustles these days. I think now more than ever, that's an opportunity for people largely because of the internet, but also other things. My nephew bought a power washer and I mean, making, it funds his life, and the things he wants to do. And what all he really cares about right now is riding mountain bikes and traveling and skiing and taking cold plunges. You know what I mean? Like, that's what he's doing at 18 years old. But that idea that we can buy a piece of machinery or we can use a digital product, and we're going to get into that in just a minute. But the entrepreneurship for the person who's thinking, I really think I want to do something on the side, but it's going to take a lot of time. It's going to take a lot of this. You really can you can decide that amount of time and just set a timer.
Yep.
Spend that amount of time each day or each week. And when that time is up, you go back to what you're doing that is the security and does fund your lifestyle that you have right now and help support your family. So it doesn't have to be this huge risk that we hear sometimes. People are like, how do you quit the job you hate? Well, what if you don't hate your job?
Yeah.
You just want a little more. So that's what you did. And so there's safety in that.
Yep. And also I want to add this quick note. And most of the time when you're becoming an entrepreneur or wanting to like dream big or finally go after that one thing you've been like dead set on your whole life, you're most likely, I would say 80 to 90% of the time, you're still going to be working full time. Like most entrepreneurs, like me and my husband were just watching Shark Tank. Most of those people bringing that stuff out were saying, well, I still work so-and-so here. And I was like, isn't that crazy? Like people even trying to really even get these big businesses out that have inventory and not even digital marketing, which is more my lane. They're still working full-time other things because that's life. And I think that actually is the difference between people who make it and don't. It's like, can you
do what you got to do?
Yes. Like, can you
be okay with it?
Okay with it? That's what I was going to say. Can you be okay with getting off your 9 to 5 and saying, I told myself I'd work an extra 30 minutes today on this. That's really the difference between someone who I think makes it in entrepreneurship versus saying they want to do it, because it's hard.
The other myth is that you have to be a person who gets up at 5 a.m., does their meditation or their prayer, and drinks their 30 ounces of water and all the things. And I'm telling you right now, I do not set an alarm usually unless I'm flying somewhere early. And that is a luxury that I have enjoyed since my son left for college. I try to look at the pros and cons of him not living at home, and that would be one of them. But I am not I'll work till 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
Easily. I have to set it down sometimes. That is when I'm most creative. And I had to get okay with not being the person who's a 5 a.m. person getting all the work done. Because I've done that. I've gotten up at 5:36 and by 2 o'clock, I'm like,
I need a nap.
Dang, I'm done. I'm kind of like, I got to be up for 8 more hours, So that's how I live my life. But anyway, that's just to say that you don't have to do, there's no rules to it. You'll have to do it the way that it works for you. Okay, let's take a break and we're going to talk about what you're doing right now and wrap it up. We'll be back in just a moment. We are back finishing up with you, Jordan Vesper. We are talking about entrepreneurship and how it looks. And it doesn't have to look any certain way. Like we said, you don't have to get up at 5 a.m. You don't have to take a cold plunge. You don't have to do all these things that some people, the gurus, are doing, telling you it's necessary. You can start wherever you need to start. And for you, you have a full-time job and you wanted to bring in some extra income to kind of equalize the no debt in your marriage because you got married, your husband has no debt, and you're trying to accomplish the same.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the digital course world. The option is that you build a course based on what you know, but a new option is opened up where you sell a course that other people have built that they've given you the rights to sell. So when you create a digital course, as I have done, as you have done, you're protecting that. You're copywriting it. You don't want anybody to take anything that was your intellectual property. And that's one way to do it. And it's a smart way to do it. But there's also courses out there that people have said, here, take it, buy it one time, sell it again, sell it again, sell it again. And that's what you're doing. And you thought, how does this really work? And can I make any money? And let's just talk about that piece for a minute.
Yes. So I also want to add really quickly, I work full time. Me and my husband have something every single night of the week. Okay, there's not one evening in our week.
Social activities, commitments, things like that.
I mean, down to kids' football games, Bible studies. We have class. We serve in our church. Like, we are gone all week. So for me to jump into something and think, oh, I can do this, in the evenings, that's out. So
it's when you can do it.
Me creating a course and selling it and trying to market all that, no, that was not going to be in my wheelhouse of time because I don't even have that. So when people say I don't have time, truly, I did not have time. So when this was presented to me, someone created the course themselves and now I'm able to market it. I have an hour to market. I can split that hour up during the week. I can market that course like no one's business because I believe in it. I know it works. It helped me. So there's different courses out there. There's different products out there. There's not one course that does this. There's many products out there now where they have the master resale rights licensing attached. And instead of you creating the product, you now get to sell it as your own. And you just want to find one that you're passionate about. And so that's what I need
then that people are actually going to benefit from. It's no different than finding a great product that you want to sell in your store. It's no different than having a wholesale account with a company that you believe in and you want to sell their products either in a storefront or online. It is no different than any of those things.
Or buying a piece of furniture and reselling it as your own. I mean, that's the good thing with these products. They're editable. So you can actually rebrand them. You do not have to sell them as is, as long as you don't sell them for less than what they're worth. And you can't take away any of the content. You can add in content and resell it. Like, it is really a cool concept where you still get that ownership feel, where it still feels like your own. Like, I rebranded mine completely different name. I didn't add anything into it because, like I said, don't have the time. I sold it as it is. And people are coming back being like, this is the best program I've ever taken. And I'm like, great. It was the best program I've ever taken. It's really cool.
Yeah. And there will still be those people who are choosing to do it, that they are the brand, they are the expert. There's things to go around that, that you write books, you give talks, you're the expert in that field. And that is a place that a lot of people are comfortable.
Yeah.
And then there's people who want to plug in. So you've done both. And so you have
done both. Yeah.
Yeah. And all I'm trying to say too, by having you here and sharing this, is that there are so many ways to get out of your own way, and having bills, having debt, having obligations that feel like you can't get out of them. There's so many ways these days that you can. And you're proof of that.
Yeah.
You're proof of that.
I've done it all. Like I said, I've created my own products. I'm affiliate for software programs that I love. I made almost $80 this month from affiliates. Like, that's something that I did 3 months ago, like, that I'm still making monthly income from. So there's so much out there that.
And you were hoping to just we just have 1 minute left, but you were hoping to just make a little bit of money, a couple $100 maybe a month off this digital marketing. And
maybe, yeah.
What I took notice of is it's been way more than that.
Way more than that. More than I thought. Now, there's people out there making even more, but like, I'm happy with.
It's based on the time they're spending. It's based on the effort they're putting in.
Yeah. And it's been amazing. More than I thought it would be.
Well, I appreciate your honesty and I appreciate you sharing your story, and I love your enthusiasm, and I'm so glad we've stayed in touch, and I'm going to keep following you, and I'm going to keep watching those numbers go up. And then you said, as it happens, you just get to dream a little bigger.
That's right.
So keep dreaming for sure. Thanks for being here.
Thanks.